Hi, everybody, and welcome to Turn Data into Action, a podcast series exploring the trends and strategies shaping the future of insurance and claims. I'm your host, George Jack from the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance, and in this episode, we'll take a closer look at the findings from Enlyte's 2026 Trends Report and discuss what they mean for insurers, claims professionals, and industry leaders looking to stay ahead in a rapidly changing market. Joining us is Jim Harris, Vice President of Analytics and Reporting at Enlyte. Jim helps shape the company's long-term growth and innovation strategy and brings more than 2 decades of experience across the property and casualty insurance industry. Jim will help unpack the key findings from the report and explore how organizations can turn industry data and emerging trends into meaningful action. Now let's join Jim Harris from Enlyte. Jim, it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us today on the podcast.
George, hello. Thank you for having me today.
It's a pleasure. Jim, can you explain the confounding factors influencing claims outcomes?
Yeah, confounding factors have always existed, right? They've always been out there, and they've always played a significant role in shaping how this claim is going to look, how long it's going to be in treatment, and ultimately kind of what the costs are. And over the years, I think it's changed quite a bit. Where as an old claims guy that has been around for a few decades, it used to be like you don't talk about these confounding factors and these other conditions that are out there, but they've always played a role in impacting that claim. And I think as time has gone on, both the industry, the environment, the world has been more open to embracing these additional confounding factors that influence a person's life. What has always been in play is now something that maybe is brought out to the forefront a lot more and is impacting, allows us to kind of manage those additional conditions to help, be it return an injured worker back to work sooner, or a person injured in an automobile accident or things along those lines to try to get them healthy and recovered and back to where they want to be again. We have recently pulled a lot of data. We've got, as reference, we have a new Enlyte Envision Trends report that has come out, and several sections of that are focusing specifically on confounding factors and how they influence claims. And so we've seen things that when you talk about confounding factors, like what are those? So that's things like obesity, right? We have a very high frequency of obesity across the United States, and that's no different than what we see in the claims area as well. Hypertension, diabetes, substance abuse, opioid usage, all those kind of things are realities of what's taking place on the injured parties and play that role. So it's important to, I think, identify those, identify them early, and also provide the treatment and the guidance to kind of help that. We've done a number of studies on confounding factors, and one of the pieces of our business is case management. So we found that that's really one of the best places to kind of do that, because you have a trained nurse, who is asking that injured worker or auto accident victim, specific questions and identifying these conditions that are taking place. We have seen the impact of these to be quite substantial. Almost 2/3 or over 2/3 of all the cases that we manage through case management have at least one confounding factor, and they impacted significantly. 37% higher severity ratings when you look at kind of a numeric scale that the official disability guidelines uses. It increases at 37%, and we're seeing that cases are staying open 72% longer when at least one confounding factor is in place on those claims. So it really does have a major impact of that. We look at things, obesity. We see about 1 in 3 injured workers on the work comp side have an obesity diagnosis. 20% have hypertension, et cetera. So it's a very high frequency that's taking place out there. So it really does have a major effect. When we looked at auto injuries as well, in the first party realm. And third party, we're seeing not a high frequency of those, probably less than 2% of all the treatments that are taking place are there. But they have a significant impact in increasing that severity and the ultimate cost of that claim when they're present. And I think one other, not to go on too much about this, but one other
Please.
area that we have really been focusing on, and I hate to use the word trendy, but it's something again that's being embraced much more openly than historical claims handling, is on the behavioral health treatment and early identification of these kind of diagnoses that are taking place out there, and treating that whole person, whether that behavioral health conditions is related to the injury or maybe is a pre-existing condition that is impacting the recovery of the workers. It's in play, and we're seeing about 6% of workers' compensation claims have 6% of lost time workers' comp claims have some type of behavioral health treatment and condition that are taking place. And these conditions, there are things like post-traumatic stress disorder, post-concussional diagnoses, anxiety. Those are probably the three most not popular, but most frequent diagnoses that we're seeing on the workers' comp side. And overall, we're seeing about a 208% increase in claims treatment duration, medical treatment duration, when behavioral health is present, and about almost 4 times the cost of a claim when behavioral health is present versus not. It's an important subject. It's something that if you can identify early and manage it appropriately, you can really have an impact on trying to control those ultimate claim costs.
Did you say 208%?
Longer treatment duration, yeah. So more than double.
Got it. Wow. So we're talking about, you were mentioning diagnoses like physical hypertension, things like that, and behavioral health. So I was wondering what other ripple effects downstream in areas like that and other areas that you anticipate in terms of like claim duration. You mentioned the 208%, litigation and severity. What other factors are the ripple effects from this going to be affected by them?
Yeah, I mean, it affects everything. As I said, the treatment duration is a huge piece, right? Especially if you're looking on the workers' comp side and you have that component of the ability to return back to work or not. Trying to reduce that length of care and getting that patient back to a status where they can return back to work
Sure.
is so critical, and certainly on the auto side as well. As those claims develop, and the costs and the litigation factor can be significant in the overall cost of those cases. There's a huge ripple effect that takes place out there. These conditions, as I said, are super frequent. They're out there, and you have to be able to you can't shy away from them anymore. As in the past, it used to be like that doctor better not mention a psychiatric condition because that's going to really mess up my claim. Whereas now, hey, I hope you are addressing that and treating that so that we can resolve the case sooner.
Absolutely. So I was wondering from your perspective, in terms of what you have in place today and what you are planning on having down the road, how technology is influencing Enlyte's outlook and the way you're going to be reporting on things, and how you can use technology to help treat these things from your perspective.
Sure. We've been tracking, especially on the behavioral health, we've been tracking this year over year over year, and we are seeing the frequency of these diagnoses occurring more often. And like I said, those costs as well. I think that on the auto side, we have seen the frequency increase 15% in behavioral health since 2022, just on the auto claims alone. So embracing technology and coming up with ways to help this is so critical. And again, kind of trying to control your ultimate costs on the claims. And technology. I'll talk about some of the things that we're doing right now, and then where we want to kind of go on this. So, um, you know, at Enlyte, we do a lot of medical bill review processing. That's one of our key software options that we provide out there. And so bill review does have a wealth of data, and being able to mine that data, looking for procedure codes, diagnosis codes that are coming across in the bills can help us with, early identification. So essentially triggering alerts that are going to go to the claims examiners to let them know about these kind of conditions. Um, we've established for case management clients where we can trigger that directly to the case manager. So if there's not a nurse on the file, that would be an option to kind of open it and start addressing that and managing that as well. So being able to mine all that wealth of bill review data is so important. And a lot of times, the claims examiner is not may not necessarily be aware of all these other conditions as well. Sometimes it's a mention in the notes. So that's, a physician's record or something along those lines. So that's, what we call unstructured data, and being able to do, AI summarized medical record reviews or pulling that kind of information out of the unstructured medical reports is another kind of technical piece that can help us do that. And then I think, a future thing is also kind of doing, building predictive models, by looking historically at data of, age of the injured party, the diagnoses, things along those lines. They can all kind of come into play to help, do that early identification. And I think one other area that is still kind of untapped is what they call the social determinants of health. Because these are kind of all the non-medical factors that can also impact a claim. Access to healthcare, education, housing, financial stability, all those kind of other things that really have an impact on how that injured party is able to recover. And so I think that's another area that is kind of untapped right now. We tried to do a lot of analysis in bill review looking for those kind of conditions and those diagnoses, and it's not really reported too much at this time. So we know they're out there, but the physicians aren't adding those kind of diagnoses codes to the bills to kind of pull it. So I think that also is another opportunity where technology could be used again if you factor in maybe where that injured person is living, or they're based on their address and things like that. That could also kind of help bring alerts and triggers up, filter it up, bubble it up, so to speak, so they can access it.
So keeping an eye on health equity and how important that is to the whole mindset, harnessing that taxonomy to make sure your unstructured data is fully, the content of which is fully mined and utilized. That's fantastic. Besides those kinds of things, well, that's from Enlyte. I mean, but Enlyte's leading the charge in this. On a personal note, Jim, what do you think those in the industry should focus on in the next several months and going forward in terms of this, besides your innovations and things you're championing?
Yeah, I think, the industry as a whole, again, is early identification, so that you can come up with appropriate treatment plans. So, is that, factoring these kind of questions in at your, at the initial contact of the injured party at the time they're reporting the claim.
Right.
How can you kind of pull that kind of information out early? Is I think that one of the most important things to do. And I, again, not shying away from this anymore. It's an old trend that's out there, but if you continue that kind of, head in the sand kind of approach, I think that it's going to end up costing you a lot more in the long run as well.
Sure, absolutely. So those are all items or discussion points from the 2026 trends report. Looking to the 2027 trends report, Are you going to take any data that's unstructured and get it structured so that it'll be part of the new report going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we're continuing to, we're developing some new AI medical record summarization technology that's available, both to our customers and us to help identify these things. Again, we're looking for ways for early identification and triggering as well. So we look forward to kind of quantifying this. As I said before, we've kind of been following, especially on the behavioral health side here for the last couple of years, and watching those trends. So it's something that we're going to continue to stay very close to, and showing seeing the impact of that.
Jim, thank you so much for letting us know about what's going to be coming with the 2027, or what you think might be coming in the 2027 Enlyte Trends Report. Can you give our viewers information about how to access Enlyte information, how to access Enlyte technology, and how to access the report we've discussed today?
Yeah, absolutely. So our 2026 Enlightened Vision Trends Report is kind of hot off the presses. Just came out here in early June, and you can access and download it for free at our website, which is enlyte.com. So it's right there on the homepage when you go to the site, and you can press a button and get access to the whole report. It includes not just includes deep dives into both workers' compensation trends and auto trends as well.
And it is free.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Jim, one more time, could you give the location, please, of the report?
Sure. It's Enlyte, ENLYTE.com.
Jim, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll have more to come from Enlyte in the next episode with our special guest, Michelle Hibbert, who is the Senior Vice President of Regulatory Compliance and Government Affairs for Enlyte. So on behalf of our special guest, Jim Harris, this is your host, George Jack, saying thank you, everybody, for coming to the Turn Data into Action podcast. And we will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day.
Thank you.